Guys, how are you? I hope that you're doing okay. Um, okay, so in this video, we are going to discuss something interesting. We are going to discuss something which is really closely related to us. We are going to discuss about time. Okay, so before we start, let me ask you some questions. Can you see time? No? Well, I do. When I look at the clock, then I can see the time. No, I'm just joking. But can you feel time? I bet most of you can feel time, right? As we live, we always feel that we move forward and we will leave something behind. Am I right? Okay, so what is time then? Well, in my definition, time is actually a point in a space that marks something that happened or something that happens or something that will happen. Okay, so can you describe time? Interesting, right? Yes, we can describe time. Let's just imagine as we are living, we are actually occupying or we live in a space, right? So, um, as we live, we will do something, right? We breathe, we talk, we think, right? So, in order for us to describe about describe these things, we would have to depend on time. Am I right? For example, just now I was doing my intro, right? So, to describe that I did something, I use a time marker. So, right now I am talking to you. Another time marker used. And after this, I will end the video. Another time marker used. Okay, just imagine we live in a space, right? We occupy the space, and then we do something, and as we are living, we move forward and we leave something behind, and there will be something in front of us. Okay, maybe you might not get what I'm trying to say, but bear with me, I will explain to you. Okay, so when we do something, we can describe it, and when we describe it, we have to depend on time. So when we do something now, we have to use we have to use the time marker for now to explain the action that we are doing now. And when we want to explain about things, or we want to explain our action in the past, we will have to use the time marker for the past. And when you want to explain something that you will do, you will have to use the time marker for the future. All right, so you get where this is going. Okay, let's just put it simple. Today we are going to discuss about tenses. You have past, you have present, and you also have future tenses. So each of these tenses describe actions or things that happen in the past, in the present, and also in the future. Okay. Before we move to tenses, we have to understand what time is first. Okay, so in explaining to you, let me just draw you a diagram. Okay, so let's take an example. You have this line here going forward. Okay, and then you have three dots. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so the first dot would be your past. The second dot would be your present. And the third dot would be your future. All right. So this is how time flows. You have your past, you have your present, and you have your future. Let's make it more interesting. We live in a space, right? So I will draw you a space in a box. All right. So you have one box now. Okay. And in the box, you can have 3 more boxes. 1, 2, and 3. So the first box, I mean the biggest box, will represent your whole life. Whole life. The first smaller box will represent your past. Your second smaller box will represent your present. And then the last smaller box will represent your future. Okay. And another thing that you have to know is that in these smaller boxes, there are dots. Okay. Let me just put 7 dots here. Is it 7? Yeah, 7. Okay. So what do these box represent? So this box will represent events that happen in your life. Okay, so here I just use 7 dots for each smaller box. Okay, so let's put it like this. Whenever you do something in the past, there will be a smaller part or smaller parts of your past, and whatever happens in the present, there will be smaller parts of your present, and whatever happen in the future, there will be smaller parts or smaller dots in the future. Okay, so let's just put it as it is for now, because after our further explanation, you will get to understand this. All right, so talking about tenses, we have 3 major tenses. Okay, tenses. Oh, this is awful. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Come on. What is wrong? Okay. Nah. Oh. Should be this one, right? Oh. Let me just save it first. Yeah, I think this is saved. Bear with me for a second. This one? Oh no. Oh god. Okay, tenses. Smith. Oh. All right, there we go. Tenses. So talking about tenses, we have three major tenses that marks or that we use to describe things that we do. So the three major tenses are, you have your past, you have your present. Oh no, this is horrendous. Present. And you also have your future tenses. All right, so what does each of these represent? Okay, past tenses. I used tenses because there are actually other branches of each of these. So for past tense, you use past tense to describe things that happen in the past. Okay, so let me hold it. Okay, describe things or action that happened in the past. So whenever you want to talk about something that happened in the past or took place in the past, you use past tenses. All right, so the next one would be the present tenses. Okay, so present tenses are used to describe things or events or actions that happen in the present, that happens in the present. Okay, so this, I hope you can read it. Okay, describe things, action that happens in the present. Come on. All right, present. So anything that happens in the present or anything that you want to describe which is taking place or which takes place in the present, you will have to describe it using present tenses. And the last one is future tenses. So this is used to describe things or action that will happen, okay, in the future. So whenever you want to talk about something that will take place in the future, for example, your plans or estimated time for arrival or departure, you will have to use your future tenses. Okay, is it clear? So this is this is just the basic. So remember, just now I told you that in each of the three major tenses, there are branches of them, right? So the basic major branches are, well, there are eight branches for these tenses. So 3 for past tense, 3 for present tense, and 2 for future tense. There could be more if we mix and match them, but for this video we are going to discuss only 8 of them. So let me just write it down for you. So for present, all right, it's big enough. So we'll start with past first. For past tense, you have your simple past tense, you have your continuous or progressive tense, you have past perfect tense. So there are 3 for past tense, and each of them has its own use when describing about events or things that happened in the past. All right, so the next one is your present tense. Similar to your past tense, you also have simple, you also have continuous. Did I get it right? Continuous or progressive, and you also have your perfect. So present perfect tense. And for the last one that we will discuss in this video is your future tense. So similar to past and present tense, you have simple, you have continuous or progressive, and you can also have future perfect tense, but for the sake of this video I'm not going to write it down for you, as we are not going to be as we are not going to discuss about it. Okay, so now are you ready for your first part of tenses? I hope you're ready. Okay. Or would you like to take a break first? Let's take a break together. Okay. Oh, is it resuming? Okay. Hi, welcome back again. Okay, so can we continue to our first past tense? Shall we? All right. So we are here. We are going to discuss the simple past tense. Okay, simple past tense. So this is the simplest of the past tense. As you can see, the name simple past tense. So, um, what is simple past tense? Simple past tense is actually a tense that we use to explain about things that happened in the past. Another thing for you to remember is that for every tense that we learn, we can see that there will be changes in our sentence, and these changes will happen at the verb, as tenses actually, well, when we want to talk about when we want to describe things that happened in the past, or or took place in the past, or even in the future or in the present, we only describe the verb. So that's why only verbs are affected, and these changes on verbs can be influenced by the nouns that precede the verb, the noun before the verb. Okay, but for past tense, as it is for simple past tense, as it is simple, the changes wouldn't be influenced by the noun. It happens only because the thing that you want to describe, or the action that you want to describe, happened in the past. Okay, so whatever happened, or whatever action that you want to describe that took place in the past, and you want to describe it, you will have to use you will have to use simple past tense, and the verb will change. Okay, for example, you want to say, or you want to describe your action in the past. Let's take yesterday. Yesterday is your past now, right? Because it happened before today, so it's in the past. So, for example, you want to describe your action of eating burger yesterday, right? So, there will be the noun, or the doer. I mean, the person or the thing that what we call it, do the action. So here we use I, and then you want to describe your action of eating, eat, and then burger, and then yesterday. So just to make it clear. So here, when you use simple past tense, okay, so when you before that, when you look at this sentence, yeah, of course you can understand it, but there is an error. So the error here is at your verb. Since you did the action of eating yesterday, you cannot use the root word here, the root word, okay, because it's in yesterday. So you have to change the verb eat into simple past tense. So past tense for eat is ate. So I ate burger yesterday. Oops, I missed the R. Okay, let me just, okay, yesterday. So this one is correct. You have to change. Okay, so since I mentioned just now that in simple past tense, the changes wouldn't be influenced by the noun, right? So whatever noun that you put here, he, she, they, or anything, the changes would still be eat to ate in case of the verb eat. Okay, let's take another example. Jump. We use John and the verb is jump. Okay, let me just make it clear here. Subject, okay, or the noun. So this is the verb, and then into the river last weekend. Okay, so the past tense for the verb jump is jump plus ed. So this is hideous plus ed, so jumped. So John jumped into the river last weekend. All right, so do you guys notice something here? Just now when we talk about the verb eat, you change it to ate. You change the whole thing. And when we talk about the verb jump, you add ed to make it to turn it into simple past tense. Okay, do you know why this happens? To get the answer, you have to study verb. You have to know that there are two types of verb. You have regular verb and irregular verb. So our first example, eat, is irregular verb. So for irregular verb, instead of just adding ed at the end of the verb, you have to change the verb. So for our second example, the verb jump is regular verb. So to change it into simple past tense or past tense in general, you just have to add ed here at the back, turn it into jumped, then it will be past tense. So John jumped into the river last weekend. There are also verbs that there are also verbs which are considered special. For example, the verb burn, you can add ed and you can also turn it into something else. Okay, burn, you can use burned plus ed, or you can use burnt. Similar to dream, you can use dreamed or dreamt. But there are also verbs that there are also verbs that do not change. For example, the verb cut. So cut is still cut in the past. Put, also put. So these are examples of special verbs. Well, I call it special. I call them specials. Okay? Alright, so easy. Whenever you want to talk about something that happened in the past, just you can either change the whole thing, for example, eat to ate, or plus ed, jump to jumped. Or you have to be careful with the specials, because you can either use both, or in some cases, for example, for cut and put, they wouldn't change. All right. Want to take another break? Okay, let's take another break. Hi, welcome back. All right, so before we move on to our next tense, which is the present continuous or past continuous or past progressive tense, maybe we could just have the rules for simple past tense written down. Okay, so the rule for your simple past tense would be, you have your subject or your noun, and then you have your verb, and this is your predicate. Okay, so subject could be I, you, we, they. We take John and Sarah. Jack. Sorry. You have Jack, and then he or she or even it. Okay, and then the verb, you have to if the verb is regular, you just have to plus ed. If it is irregular, you have to change. Okay, so example here would be jump, jumped. Change eat becomes ate. Okay, so predicate is actually anything that complements that completes your sentence. So simple. Okay, all right, so now let's move on to a more challenging type of tenses. So the next one would be the past continuous or progressive tense. Past continuous or progressive tense. Okay, so when we talk about continuous tense, we are actually talking about something that well, this is just continuous, something that is happening at a certain time or at a specific time. So here we have past continuous. So we use past continuous tense to describe something that was happening at a specific time in the past. Okay, let me just write it down for you. Describe something, STH, that was happening at a specific time. This is time in the past. Okay, specific time. When we talk about specific time, let us go back to our previous note about time. Remember, we have a big box and then three smaller boxes in the big box, and then in each of these smaller boxes we have like some dots. Okay, so these dots actually represent specific time, either in the past, in the present, or in the future. Okay, just now when we talk about simple past tense, that action or that occurrence can happen at any time in the past. So they were not, or the action was not happening at a specific time. Well, they might happen at a specific time, but when you are describing about it, you were not being specific about the time. Okay, all right. So let's move on to the latest note. Okay, so describe something that was happening at a specific time in the past. Okay, so let's imagine our past is yesterday and pick one specific time. For example, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. In the afternoon. All right, so specific time here, we choose 1 p.m. specific time. So usually 1 p.m. is your lunch break. So what you will be doing at your lunch break at 1 p.m. is to eat, right? So as we are discussing past, so we are going to talk about something that happened in the past at a specific time. So past continuous or progressive tense. So you want to talk about what you do. So what you do is eat. So your noun is I. Your specific time is 1 p.m. And then 1 p.m. And then you have to use past continuous or past progressive tense. So the rule is simple. You have to put was, verb to be, eat plus ing, eating, and then at 1 p.m. yesterday. So I was eating at 1 p.m. yesterday. So this is you are describing about your action of eating at a specific time in the past. Okay, if you do not have your yesterday here, could it still be the past? Yes, of course. For example, it is now 6 p.m. In the evening. So you want to talk about the thing that you did at 1 p.m. Before, I mean, at 1 p.m. So before 6 p.m. So you can still use I was eating at 1 p.m. So it is still applicable. All right. So another example of use for past continuous or progressive tense is you want to talk about something happen when something was happening. So something was happening was happening is the specific time. Okay, let me just write it down for you. Describe something happen when something else was happening. So something else was happening here is your specific time. Okay, for example, you saw someone fell down when you were eating, right? So Sarah fell when I was eating. So when you say this, you are actually being specific of the time when Sarah fell. So the time when Sarah fell was the time when you were eating. So when you were eating, Sarah fell. Okay, so do you get what I mean? So you want to describe something that happened in the past, and you want to be specific of the time when it happened. So Sarah fell is something happened, and the specific time when Sarah fell is the time when you were eating. All right, I hope you can understand that. Okay, so your the basic rule for present continuous tense is you have your noun, you have to add your be verb. Okay, you have to have your verb plus ing. Okay, noun could be I, you have your you have we, they, John, and Sarah. Sorry, I don't have the prettiest handwriting. And then you have John alone, and then you have he, and then you have she, and then you have it. Okay, be verb. So what is be verb? Be verb is actually a verb that happens the state of being. Okay, let me just give you an example of be verb. Okay, in present tense, your be verb is, am, and are. So am is used with I, are is used with you, we, they, and more than one person, for example John and Sarah. And is used by singular noun, for example John, he, she, it, or Sarah alone. Okay, so in past tense, okay, let us try this. um when you say that I am a teacher, so actually my state of being when I'm saying that I am teacher is I be teacher. All right. He is handsome. So when you say that he is handsome, the state of being that he is in is he being handsome. So that's why we call it the be verb. Okay. So when we want to change this be verb into past tense, okay, you have your I am is changed into was. The same with you are also, sorry, I was, you, we, they, John and Sarah is were. Okay. And then John alone, he, she, it. Okay, we use was. And then every verb plus ing. Eat, sorry, not the prettiest handwriting. Eat plus ing. So whenever you do this, you are actually being specific of the time when that action happened. So I was eating, you were eating, they were eating, John and Sarah were eating, John was eating, he was eating, she was eating, it was eating. Okay. So you are actually being what we call it specific of the time of the action that was happening in the past. Okay. All right. I hope you can still understand what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. Let's take another break. It's, hey, welcome back again. All right, so I hope you are I mean your brain is free now. You are more ready to continue with our lesson. Okay, the next before we start our next before we move on to our next tense, can I just give you a riddle? Okay, let me just write it down for you. Bear with me, I don't have the prettiest handwriting. Okay, I have 6 eggs. All right. I broke I broke 2 8 2 not 8 I broke 2 and not broke here. Let me just change it first. Okay, I fried 2 eggs and I ate 2 eggs. How many left? I'm waiting for your answer. How much do I still have? 4. Do I still have 2? or other than that. Hmm. Four, two, other than that. Hmm. Okay, let's just not waste any more time. The answer is 6. Why 6? Okay, why 6? So when we are finished with present perfect tense, then you will know why. Okay, all right, so let's move on with our past perfect tense. So what is past perfect tense? Past perfect tense is actually a tense that you use to describe things that had happened in the past, okay, still in the past, and the effect is no longer felt. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Come on. Describe things that had happened in the past and the effect is no longer felt. Okay, for example, you want to talk about your action of well, let's say eating, because I'm hungry right now. So you want to talk about your action of eating in the past, and you no longer feel the effect. Okay, you ate, and then you want to say that you are no longer full because it happened in the past. So you can use past perfect tense. So let us take the verb. Okay, your verb is eat. Okay, so your subject is I. Okay, so we will change it into I had eaten. I had eaten. So I ate and I no longer feel full. Okay, another example would be let's move on to our next note. Noun and verb. Take. Okay, I. Okay, so change it into I had taken the book. So you are describing that you took the book and the book is no longer with you. Okay, so the effect is no longer felt. You no longer feel the effects. Okay, another example would be Let's take another example. Well, jump. We've used jump before, so give me some time to think. Um, Scribble. Okay. Scribble. So I had scribble on the desk. So you want to describe your action of scribbling on the desk, but the action is no longer I mean the effect is no longer felt. That means that your scribble is no longer on the desk. Okay. Can you still understand what I'm saying? I hope so. Okay, so just well, to make it simple, past perfect tense is used to describe about anything that you do or someone else did in the past, and you no longer feel the effect. For example, you drank, right? So after you drink, then you will feel not what we call it, thirsty anymore. You wouldn't feel thirsty anymore, but since you drank in the past and now you are thirsty again, so you can say that I had drink I had drunk the water. Okay, so the rule here is simple. You have your noun. Come on. Okay, you have your noun and you have your verb. I always miss the R. Verb. Okay, so noun, as usual, you have I, you, we. You have they, Sarah, and John. You have Sarah alone, and then you have he, you have she, you have it. Okay, for past perfect tense, you have to add had. So had. Okay, so for verb, if your verb is eat, you have to change it to past participle, eaten. Okay, so this is irregular verb, so you have to change it into its third form, eaten. But if your verb is a regular verb, for example, the verb jump, this is past participle, jump, you just have to add ed. Regular verb. So this is the past participle for a regular verb is the same as its past form. However, you still have to remember to put had in front of it. Okay. Let's not wait until present perfect to know why the answer of your riddle is 6. Okay. Here, you say that you have 6 eggs, right? So it's in the present. So you are saying that you are now having 6 eggs. No matter what you did in the past, fried or even ate your eggs, it's all in the past. So that doesn't count into the 6 that you have now. So how many left now would be 6. Okay, so the riddle here is not about the number. It's actually, I mean, it's not really about the number, but you actually have to be careful with the verb, with the wordings that they use. Have, had. The question uh, if the question doesn't use the word have, then maybe you can answer 4 or 2. I had 6 eggs, I fried 2 eggs, and I ate 2 eggs. The answer could be 4 or 2, because, well, maybe you fried 2 eggs, you give it to someone else, and then you ate another 2 eggs. Or maybe you fried 2 eggs and you ate the same 2 eggs. So the answer would be 4. But here, since the question mentioned have instead of had, then no matter what happened in the past, well, in the present, you still have 6 eggs. Okay, all right. So I think that will be all for this session. We will continue with our present tenses in our next video. Okay, so I think that's all for this time. Thank you. See you again.